if I told you that one of the most astonishing stories in Islamic history comes from a man who was once a Christian sailor, later became a companion of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and is remembered for a mysterious encounter with the Dajjal himself? His name was Tamim al-Dari, a man of travel, faith, courage, and one of the most unforgettable figures in Islamic tradition. His story is not just about one dramatic journey. It is about transformation, truth, and a warning for the future of mankind. Today, let's travel back more than 1,400 years and uncover the life of Tamim al-Dari, a companion whose name still sends chills through the hearts of believers. Tamim ibn As al-Dari was one of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He originally came from a Christian background and lived in the region of Palestine, then under Byzantine rule. He belonged to the Banu al-Dar, a branch of the Lacham tribe, and before Islam, he was known as a man connected to religion, travel, and long journeys. But what makes Tamim al-Dari truly remarkable is not just where he came from, it is where he ended up. He became a Muslim, met the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and earned a special place in Islamic history through his devotion, wisdom, and an extraordinary story that would later become one of the most famous narrations about the Dajjal. Tamim al-Dari first came into contact with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, around 628 CE, when he came as part of a delegation. At that time, the Prophet, peace be upon him, had granted the Banu al-Dar a share of revenues from land after the Battle of Khaybar. Tamim had come for this purpose, but what happened next changed his life forever. When he met the Prophet, peace be upon him, he listened, reflected, and embraced Islam. This was not a small decision. It meant leaving behind his old life, his old beliefs, and everything familiar to him. But Tamim al-Dari recognized truth when he saw it, and he accepted it with sincerity. After becoming Muslim, he settled in Medina and became close to the Prophet, peace be upon him. He was known for being intelligent, thoughtful, and deeply concerned with the needs of the Muslim community. Tamim al-Dari was not only a companion, he was a contributor. He is often remembered as someone who gave practical advice to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, about matters of public worship. One of the most famous examples is his recommendation regarding oil lamps in the mosque, helping make prayer spaces brighter and more accessible. This may sound simple today, but at the time, it was an important improvement for the community. He also became known as one of the early narrators of Islamic stories and religious reports. His narrations were not random tales. They often carried lessons, warnings, and spiritual meaning. He had a gift for storytelling, but more importantly, he had a purpose. He used his voice to remind people of faith, accountability, and the unseen realities described in Islam. According to a well-known narration, Tamim al-Dari and a group of companions were on a sea journey when a storm struck and their ship drifted for a long time before reaching a strange island. There they encountered a creature called al-Jassasa, which led them to a chained man inside a monastery-like place. This man began asking them questions about the outside world. What is the condition of the date palms? What is happening in various regions? Has the Prophet of Islam appeared? As the questions continued, it became clear that this was no ordinary man. He was the Dajjal, the great deceiver who, according to Islamic belief, will emerge near the end of times and test humanity with immense deception. The story is powerful because it is not told as folklore. It was reported through the companions and later became part of Islamic eschatological understanding. For Muslims, this narration is not meant to feed curiosity alone. It is meant to create awareness, caution, and spiritual preparedness. Tamim al-Dari's encounter with the Dajjal is important for several reasons. First, It shows that Islamic teachings about the end of times are not abstract. They are deeply rooted in the traditions of the companions. Second, it highlights the seriousness of deception. The Dajjal is described as the greatest trial humanity will face, and Tamim's story serves as an early warning. Third, it reminds us that even a man from a different religious background can become one of the most important voices in Islam when he sincerely accepts the truth. Tamim al-Dari was not defined by his past. He was defined by his response to guidance. Beyond the famous Dajjal narration, Tamim al-Dari lived a life of worship and service. He was known for his dedication to prayer and religious instruction. He helped strengthen the Muslim community, supported the teaching of Islam, and lived as a man who understood that faith is not just something you believe, it is something you live. He was also associated with an estate or land grant in Palestine, which he used under the Islamic system after the Muslim expansion into the region. This made him not just a spiritual figure, but also someone involved in the social and administrative realities of the early Muslim world. That balance is important. Tamim al-Dari was both a man of the unseen and a man of the world. He understood spiritual truth, but he also understood responsibility, governance, and community. Tamim al-Dari's life gives us several powerful lessons. First, truth can reach anyone, no matter their background. Second, sincerity matters more than status. Tamim was not famous for wealth or power. He was remembered because he accepted the truth and served it. Third, the unseen realities of Islam are not there to scare people for no reason. They are there to guide believers toward vigilance, humility, and trust in Allah. And finally, his life teaches us that a person's greatest legacy may come from one moment of courage, one decision of faith, and one story that carries meaning for generations. Tamim al-Dari was more than a traveler. He was a witness to truth, a companion of the Prophet, peace be upon him, a servant of the Muslim community, and the man whose name became tied forever to one of the most mysterious stories in Islamic history. From Christianity to Islam, from a sea journey to the shores of prophecy, from an ordinary man to an unforgettable companion, his life reminds us that guidance can come from anywhere, and that faith can turn an unknown person into a timeless example. And perhaps that is the real beauty of Tamim al-Dari's story. It is not just about the Dajjal. It is about recognizing truth before it is too late.